Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk to you guys about an interesting comparison that I was recently inspired to make between two Marvel games. In this case, it's going to be Marvel Contest of Champions and Marvel Future Fight. Now, I was partially inspired by Seaton Man of Legends' recent video about the 16 teased characters for the next big or the next few Contest of Champions updates throughout the year. I think it's a really cool way of hyping up for the next, 16 characters that they've got to hit 120. And then it sparked an idea in my head. We complain a lot, or I complain a lot about the X-Men and certain characters missing in this game, but we don't stop to appreciate what we have, and we also don't look to others to see what they have versus what we have. Instead of just complaining about the toys that aren't in our chest, let's go check out what the other kids' chests or toy chests look like. So starting it off, there's this really cool graphic that the Contest of Champions people made that lists all the new characters, or all the characters plus the spots for the new characters with question marks. Now, of that total graphic, there are 120 characters. Of course, 16 of them are hidden, so you only have 104. So right now, as it stands, Contest of Champions has 104 playable characters versus Marvel Future Fight, as you guys can see, 119 playable characters. Of course, I don't have Whiplash, excuse me, I missed the whip and Whiplash, unlocked, so I only have 118. But so right there, we immediately established that Marvel Future Fight actually has 15 more characters than Contest of Champions. And that actually struck me as a bit of a surprise when I realized that, and I wrote down that number, because playing Marvel Contest of Champions, I feel like there are more heroes than there are in Future Fight. And that's a bit weird to me psychologically. It might be because I've just gotten used to very specific heroes in this game, and so I know the 40 or so good ones, and versus Marvel Contest of Champions, I don't know which ones are good and which ones are bad and which ones to ignore totally, like Whiplash and Hulkling, so I consider them all viable options. But then I wanted to go a step further, and I wanted to compare, well, what does Contest of Champions have that Marvel Future Fight doesn't, and vice versa. So let's have a look now at the characters that Contest of Champions has that we do not have. So as you can see here, it's a pretty long list. It's actually 37 characters that only appear in Contest of Champions and do not appear in Marvel Future Fight. As you would guess, a lot of these characters are from the X-Men universe, which I won't get into. It's not for this video because we're just doing a comparison, but it is interesting to note all of the characters. We've got Abomination, Archangel, Beast, Cable, Civil Warrior. Civil Warrior is the Marvel Contest Champions version of Sharon Rogers. It was their unique character that they built for the 75th anniversary of Captain America. I do think that Sharon Rogers is much cooler in my opinion. Two Cyclopses, two Deadpools, Dr. Voodoo, who I would love to see in this game next to Doctor Strange as a powerhouse of the Arcane and the Mystic. Electro, Gambit, Guillotine, Hood, Howard the Duck, which is pretty hilarious. Iceman, Joe Fixit, Juggernaut, Kang, King Groot. So another Groot. They have two Groots in that game. It's not a uniform. They don't really do uniforms, so it's a little bit different there. Magic, two Magnetos, Nightcrawler, Old Man Logan, who's actually in this case different from Wolverine, although I believe if he were in this game it would just be a uniform, it wouldn't be a whole new character. Then you got Psylocke, Rogue, Rhino, Scarlet Witch, big fan, Storm, Superior Iron Man, which I'm listing just because we only have the regular Iron Man, we don't have any uniforms that make him the superior version. Unstoppable Colossus, Venompool, that's a third Deadpool type character, and then Wolverine and X-23. So there's a couple duplicates there with the Magnetos and the Cyclopses and stuff like that, but there's about 34 to 37 unique characters that Contest of Champions has that we do not have. On top of that, I do want to let you guys know that it is rumored, it is not confirmed, but it is rumors that they will be getting the following characters at some point during the next, whatever, 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 updates. Not all at once, but they're coming down the pipeline. We got Nebula, we got Yondu, Carnage, Dr. Octopus, Medusa, Kraven, Vulture, and Nova. There's a couple more that are rumored, but those ones that I listed are the most probable and the most likely ones. So I don't want to delve too much into the the deep end of the rumor mill and put the tinfoil hat on, but those ones are almost for sure to show up eventually in Marvel Contest of Champions. And I mentioned them in a particular order because a lot of those characters are in Future Fight right now. Carnage, Nebula, Yondu, Dr. Octopus, Medusa. which is interesting. On the other hand, Kraven and Vulture, I would love to see them in Future Fight. I don't know why we won't get them. I hope we do. And I think we can add a little bit of extra pressure on Future Fight and on the Netmarble devs to give us those characters. Why can they only appear in one game and not in another? X-Men aside, why don't we have characters like Rhino, like Electro? Why is Joe Fixit not in this game? Even as just a uniform, we could have characters like that in this game. Abomination is another one that comes to mind. So that was the first part. The next part I wanted to look at is what characters do we have in Marvel Future Fight that do not appear in Contest of Champions? And I actually found that the list for Marvel Future Fight is actually a lot bigger than the list for Contest of Champions. Quite interesting. The list is actually 66 characters long, so more than half, almost half, my math is so bad, almost half of the characters in Future Fight are only in Future Fight. They do not appear at all in Marvel Contest of Champions. And it's a long list, boys. Carnage, Hellstorm, Kate Bishop, Kid Kaiju, Destroyer, Enchantress, Wasp, Phil Coulson, Warwolf, Elsa, Proxima, Black Dwarf, Corvus, Ebony, Supergiant, Odin, Robbie Reyes, Mantis, Satana Volstagg Hogan, Crystal, Blade, Black Cat, Red Skull, Dr. Octopus for now, Green Goblin, Malekith, Mockingbird, Agent 13, formerly known as Sharon Carter, Kingpin, Bullseye, Giant Man, Sister Grimm, Singularity, Sif, Deathlock, Lincoln Campbell. Thank you for the Dimension Rift. That's not one of the characters. Lash, Jessica Jones, Silk, Amadeus Cho, Sin, Sharon Rogers, which is our 75th anniversary character, White Tiger, Wiccan, Songbird, Squirrel Girl, Shang-Chi, Misty Knight, Wong, Caecilius, Ancient One, Clea, Ulick, Hela, Ironheart, Medusa for now, Moon Girl, Gorgon, Inferno, Maximus, Hellcat, Fandral, Hulkling, Whiplash. So right away I can see that there's a pattern. A lot of the characters that we have that they don't have were grouped around very specific updates. So we have all of the Asgardian characters that Contest of Champions does not have. We have all of the Inhuman characters, which for the most part Contest of Champions doesn't have, aside from very specific ones like Karnak and Black Bolt. We also have a lot of the new Avengers, which they do not have, aside from Gwenpool, which they just got recently. All the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. we have. They do not have the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A lot more characters from Doctor Strange that they didn't get. They only got Mordo with his uniform. They didn't get the regular Mordo and Doctor Strange. So to say that I'm unhappy with this list would be a lie. I am very happy to see a lot of these characters in Marvel Future Fight, and if these characters didn't exist, I would be pretty sad. A lot of those characters are really fun. The Black Order is super fun. Enchantress, you know, Wasp, Elsa. These are all really fun characters to play as. But I can't help but feel like they're kind of making up for, or maybe covering up, the holes. And so this is kind of maybe a question I want to ask to you guys. Is it possible that Marvel wants Marvel Contest of Champions to promote certain Marvel heroes, in this case the X-Men and some other properties, Deadpool, etc., whereas they want Marvel Future Fight to promote different properties, maybe some of the lesser known heroes, like, you know, the Runaways, the Inhumans, gearing up for that new show that looks like a, you know, a bad 90s porn parody, the new Avengers, the Asgardians. Is it done intentionally? Are the properties intentionally being divided amongst games so as to force the fan base to play both instead of just going to the one that has all of them? Because I would hazard a guess, if both games had all of the same characters and had access to all of the characters, Future Fight would have a bigger fan base. That's just my guess, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. I know it's a bit of a cynical point of view, so I don't want to, you know, really draw my line in the sand about that, but it is something that came to mind and it popped into my head. Another option is just the landscape of the game and the environment that it's in. You know, it may be too difficult to animate some of these characters for Marvel Future Fight and for the game and the capacity that the game has and the processor that's involved in most phones, whereas it's a lot easier to just animate one or two special attacks, which are basically just CGI cutscenes for Marvel Contest of Champions when they introduce a new character, especially one that's heavy on the animations like a Dr. Voodoo or Doctor Strange, or a lot of the X-Men, because they're kind of mystic or like arcane kind of characters. So it could be a matter of just the capacity of the game and what it can do with the tools that it has. These are just some questions that I have for you guys after I did my comparison. I really enjoyed doing this comparison to see and to really reevaluate just how lucky we are to have so many characters in this game. You know, we may not have the best of the best or the most recognizable characters, the Magnetos and Xavier's chair, but we do have a lot of very unique characters, and I do really think that's awesome. I do really appreciate that. It's almost like we have the misfits. You know, we have the ragtag group of B-list Marvel characters in this game, and I can kind of dig that. But I still want X-Men, Bill. So don't think I'm giving up on that one. All right, the leash is getting tighter. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of the idea. Let me know what your thoughts are on this comparison. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.